We take pride and feel honored to have Mr. Rajneesh Jain among us. Rajneesh sir is a Chief Financial Officer of Reliance Jio Infocom Limited. He is a cost and management accountant. He is an accomplished finance veteran with over 30 years of professional experience in the industry. He has worked with a number of established organizations previously named Reliance Communication, Inforama Synthetics, Ispat Industries, and Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited. He has worked with number of established organizations and he has a wide experience and proficiency in the field of finance, corporate governance, project planning and financing, control cost, process automation, accounting and audits. As a CFO, Rajneesh sir has been leading finance function at Geo to act as a strategic partner and enabler of business and operations unit to lead the digital revolution in India. He is also a key member of Geo Executive Committee. He has received multiple industry recognition on various platforms over the years, including 2 CFO of the Year awards in financial year 2019 to 2020 alone. He has also been an active speaker at various universities and youth platforms to interact with the youth of the country. Now I request Rajneesh sir to share his vast knowledge and how we can leverage digitization in the tough time of COVID-19. We would have an Q&A session at the end and I would request everyone to restrict your question to the topic only. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, my apologies for taking your time on Sunday, but unfortunately, this is the only day when I can really interact freely with all of you, and hence this particular day was chosen. I am thankful to my friend Shripal for giving me this opportunity, and really education is one word that really drives me, and that is exactly the reason that I'm with all of you. To share a little knowledge and experience that I have got in the last 30 years of my experience. The first slide. So if you really see, I started, in fact, I was driven to a profession by Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani. And typically his vision, his dreams, which really made me think that somebody can dream bigger than his capabilities and really speaking, pursue your goals even in the face of difficulties and convert adversities into opportunities is one of his saying that has always been with me for the last 30 years of my career. What is also important is what got you here won't get you there. This is the famous saying from Mr. Goldsmith. And this is something which is very, very relevant in today's time. As I take you to the next slide, I think the context setting is extremely important. And for this context setting, I'm actually reminded of one of the book which was actually my lessons of life during my teenage days. And that particular book was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I think many of you would have already heard about this book. This book is by a famous author, Dale Carnegie. I will just pick up something from his book. So one of the incidents that he narrates is that if there is a fire in your home, I pray to God that it doesn't happen with anybody. But suppose if there's a fire, let's say in my home, then what is my general reaction? And what is a very, very evident reaction? The reaction is that immediately, you know, we start shouting, we start howling, we start cursing our fate, we start cursing ourselves, we start cursing everybody else in the world. But what happens in the process? In the process, we lose that important time, that crucial time, which we could actually plan for the purpose of evacuation of ourselves, of our kins, our nears and dears, and also probably some of our important valuables and document. We lose that time. And what happens at the end of the day, by cursing everybody, we do not get anything. What we get ultimately is probably we actually lose all our belongings and sometimes may even lose our life. So what should be the real reaction in such time? The reaction in such time is, first of all, you have to accept that fire has happened. calamity has happened. Something which should not have happened has actually happened. That acceptance itself resolves 50% of your problem. Because the moment you accept that something wrong has happened, what do you start doing? You actually have a sudden calm in yourself. You start thinking, you start applying your mind. And what do you do then? You start thinking of the exit route. You start thinking how you can save your kith and kin. You start thinking how you can save your valuables. You start thinking, how you can save your important documents that you have. And in the process, you have actually salvaged most of the losses. It may so happen that while this particular house has got fire, with the money that is left with you, you are able to buy a new house, and probably your friends, your family, your wife, and your children are actually happy in getting into a new house. This is the context of my presentation today. The context is we have got unprecedented times. We have got something which should not happen to the economy, to the country, to the world at large. But what do? We have to accept what has already happened. We have to take this adversity and then convert it into opportunity. So my first part would focus on the adversities that we have so that you clearly understand of the unprecedented times that we are. And the second part would actually reflect upon what do we do in this unprecedented times, and we really convert these adversities into opportunities. So here comes my first slide. US oil prices, considered amongst the barometers of economy, have turned negative for the first time in history. Look at the prices. What has happened? It has just nosedived. The price per barrel of WTI is actually negative now at minus $37.63. Negative prices actually mean that companies must now pay a buyer to take oil off their hands and store it if they want to exit the market. This is where we are. And I've taken a few quotes which actually will define the course of my discussion. For this generation, the world is going to be irrevocably altered. How and in what way will be spoken about in the next decade? This is something which I have really liked. This was by Vani Kola, Kalari Capital. The next by Indian Railways. Indian Railways never stopped during war times. Please understand the gravity of the situation and stay indoors. This was from the Ministry of Railways, India. The third quote, COVID will reshape our world. We don't know when the crisis will end, but we can be sure that by the time it does, our world will look completely and very, very different. Moving on, macroeconomic and financial outcomes of the Great Depression and of the 2008 financial crisis took 3 years to play out. And really be focused on the words that I've written, what I've written in bold. It took 3 years to play out. In COVID, similarly, dire macroeconomic and financial outcomes have materialized in just 3 weeks. So what it took 3 years to materialize, in COVID situation, it has actually happened in mere 3 weeks. Not even during the Great Depression and World War II did the bulk of economic activity literally shut down like today. This is what it shows. So friends, the blue color is the COVID situation. The orange color is the great financial crisis. And if you see the blue line and the blue one is completely up and up. In United States, if you see, the percentage decline is over 20%. In China, it is extremely high. In Japan, in Germany, in France, in United Kingdoms, in Italy, the steepest, and in Canada. So the fall has been extremely steep, 4 weeks after the Lehman Brothers collapse. For all of you, what I've also done is I have written the source so that you can actually see the data from there if you want to go deep dive further. Impact on GDP growth. IMF has projected the global economy to contract sharply by -3% in 2020. Let's see what has happened. And this is the data from IMF World Economic Outlook, April 2020. US -5.9, Japan -5.2, UK -6.5. China's economy, which was at 6.1% to 2019, in 2020 estimate, it is going to go down to 1.2. In India alone, what was really 5.2% in 2019 is now estimated at 1.9%. In Germany, the expected growth rate in 2019 the growth rate in 2019 was 0.6%. Now it is going to go down, decline to almost -7%. In France, 1.3% in 2019 to a decline of 7.2% in 2020 as per estimates. This really shows where the economy is heading towards and what is the impact on the GDP growth through the COVID situation. Unemployment on the rise. US, with the highest number of confirmed cases and death, has also seen a surge in unemployment claims. US has now lost more than 30 million jobs till date. And I've given you the week to week also. In the fourth week of April, it is 4.4 million. This is a weekly total of new unemployment claims in 2020. Predicted unemployment is higher than the Great Depression. And if you really see in 2020, it is 32.1% projected unemployment rate in US as on March 2020. Moving on. Back in India, it is estimated that unemployment shot up from 8.4% in mid-March to 23% in early April, and the urban unemployment rate to 30.9%. This source is Center for Monitoring India Economy Weekly Tracer Survey, 7th of April 20. What is the impact on stock market? The impact of coronavirus on the stock market since the start of the outbreak: Nikkei down 14.7%, Dow Jones down -18.5%, FTSE 100 down 24.5%. Credit markets have seized up. Credit spreads have spiked to 2008 levels. Back in India, Indian equity markets are nearly down by 25% of record high levels that they scaled in January. Half of the Nifty 50 stocks, excluding financials, are trading at single-digit valuations, 12 months forward P ratios. So once you see this unprecedented times, what is really the challenge for industries? Let's look at that. Global supply chain. Struck at the core of global value hub regions, including China, Europe, and USA, China particularly was positioned at the heart of many GFCs. So GFC, if you see on the left-hand side, is global supply chains. The collapse in the production activity at the heart of many GSEs necessarily had implication for producers and consumers in countries further up and down the product value chains. Due to the restriction imposed, social distancing, strict lockdowns, demand for several industries have taken a steep fall. This also stems from the halt on discretionary spending from consumers in light of the uncertain economy and the rising unemployment. This is where you see the graph on the right-hand side. There's a steep fall in demand. So this is a challenge for industries. let's see what has happened in India. I want all of you to spend, 15 seconds to look at this slide. Back in India, the outlook for various industries looked gloomy, with airlines, auto, and construction the worst hit. I will just read it out for you because that's extremely important for you to understand the context setting. Airlines and hotels, there's a decline of 60 to 80%. Auto, 50 to 70%. Construction, 50 to 60%. Textiles, 40 to 50%. Oil and gas, 40 to 45%. Power, 20 to 25%. Consumer and retail, 20 to 25%. IT companies, 10 to 15%. Pharma, 8 to 10%. Telecom, 5 to 10%. Agriculture, 5 to 10%. Now, if you just see that I have mentioned telecom, I have not mentioned digitization because that is the only industry which is actually rising. Let's move to the next slide. Challenges, impact on the education sector. Not actually everybody is Shripal Simandar education. 1.3 billion affected learners globally. 186 countrywide closures of educational institutes. 74% of total enrolled learners globally. 285 million of young learners impacted in India. Apart from the learning experience, there are far-reaching economic and social implications for students and their families. Structure of schooling and learning has been disrupted. How it has been disrupted? Handful of private schools can adapt to online teaching methods and facilities. Remote regions and low-income private or stroke government schools have completely shut down, and you would have really seen that. Closure leading to lower fees collection, creating hurdles in working capital management for the schools, and it is difficult for the schools to really come up from this particular situation. Annual and entrance exams have to be postponed, leading to uncertainty. What does it really does? Challenges, collapse of restaurant industry. How it has happened? A purely economic crisis typically leads to the gradual decline in restaurant traffic. However, I mean, this is something very peculiar to coronavirus. Generally, while there is a decline in the restaurant traffic, it really doesn't, grow down by more than 5% or 10%. But it is because of the coronavirus outbreak and the measures taken to contain it, it has resulted in a sudden loss of nearly 100% of the business for many restaurant owners internationally. None of us are going outside in any restaurant now on weekends, on any other day. That's something which is not possible. You'll be caught by the police. Change in the seated diners at restaurant in the open table network. Really see there are various lines of Germany, United Kingdoms, United States, and global in general. Let me just read out the global one. So even in case of global one, if you really see based on the reservation data from the open table, an online restaurant reservation service company based in SF, California, virtually it has bottomed out as far as restaurant industry is concerned. This was my phase 1 of introduction. Why I call it phase 1? Because if you really see in movies what happened, first of all, it's all kind of a gloomy, sad, the hero being beaten and, all kind of wrong things happening. And then the hero has to rise. The hero can be something like Mr. Amitabh Bachchan of Shahenshah. So the Shahenshah rises and then, he kills all the demonic behavior people, all the villains. And then, everything becomes a very, very happy situation. So the next session is once you have accepted the unprecedented times of something wrong that has happened to the economy till date, You now have to accept it. And once you accept it, then you really start thinking, how do we get out of that? So to get out of that, the unpleasant digital disruptor is something, friends, we really want to bring about. At first, COVID-19 looked like previous crisis, a hit to daily activities, industries, and revenue, followed by a return to normal. It is now being accepted that even after recovery, normal will not be the same as before. Mark the word normal, which I've written again in bold. What used to be normal in earlier days, in the pre-COVID times, presumably is not going to be normal, on post-COVID times. Reform on a structural level with digital infrastructure and automation in center has become more of a necessity than a luxury. Digital readiness, building necessary infrastructure to support a digitized world will be essential for any business or country to remain competitive and relevant in a post-COVID-19 world. Really, necessity is the mother of invention. So what is innovation? Driving mega shift in the business model. Innovation in every aspect is a way forward. Not restricted to mega invention, but mostly about elegant integration of the well-known things in an intelligent way. So I repeat, not restricted to mega inventions, but mostly about elegant integration of the well-known things in an intelligent way. And really to elucidate what I've written above, let me give you an example. Why I chose this example is, this is something which is very near to Mumbai. A company, app-based company from Pune, really which has given that innovation can be simple as that. What it did, built simple app-based interface, plain enough to be used by its major customers. So who were the major customers? The major customers were the housewife. Most of the housewives were actually not even used to the mobile phone. Now, obviously, they have taken up and probably are better than us in many ways. But then he had to make that application very simple so that the housewife every time do not have to call their children, do not have to call their hubby to really, go through as to what they want to do. Addressing small features like monthly purchase tracker, she should really know what is her total, milk bill calculation, so that she quickly estimates the total bill that has to be paid. But the most important is scheduling of deliveries. Today she may require 2 liters of milk. Tomorrow she may not require anything. The third day she may require 1 liter of milk. So the application had to be so simple that she is really able to say that tomorrow she doesn't require any milk. And she doesn't have to call the person and really say that, tomorrow, bhaiya, ye doodh dene mat aana. So it should not be, that kind of a situation. A simple application actually did wonder. I have seen this. Why I'm giving you this example is my wife started using this particular application, and ever since then, she has never ever spoken to me. And now, of course, she has taken up many other applications better than me. All the magic that is really required for innovation. You have to be aware and proactive. You should have the ability to deconstruct an innovation after it exists and understand how to do it. I'll repeat it for you. Ability to deconstruct an innovation after it exists and understand how to do it, which is reflected in a very simple app of Pride of Cows. There are many such applications now available to us, which are making our life simple. And this is where the innovation lies. Moving on. Technology always been the king. alignment with the technological trends, accept the new reality in the digital age. This is where the word acceptance comes, that I was telling you as a part of my context setting. Shelf life of any company is less than 15 years. If you build a business and you think that it can remain eternal, I think, then we are living in a cuckoo's world. This is not going to happen. Even when we put up any industry, we should know that if we don't change, we are doomed. It doesn't matter how big the company is. If you don't change, you will fall. Do not get Kodak. This is a very, very, this is one of my favorite kind of a quote, a favorite kind of a lesson. And this has been my lesson of life, that if you do not change, you get Kodak. I will explain to you the concept of Kodak in a little while, but if you really see the image, I'm sure you will be able to get that. See the image below. What happened to Kodak? Gone. BlackBerry doesn't exist. Nokia has become extinct ever since, now they have really thought of changing. They may come back once again. Disruptive technologies in today's time to be driven by 3A's: automation, analytics, and artificial intelligence, popularly known as AI. Blockchain to increase accuracy and transparency, one of the area where Mr. Shripal actually really has excelled a lot. We called Shripal to actually take one of the session on blockchain in Reliance Industries. It was well appreciated by the audience, and there was almost 450 audience on that particular day. They really liked the deliberations that we had. Adopt these technologies and emerge victorious. The epidemic has put things in perspective and further strengthened the case for innovation in the digital sphere with the help of technology. Moving on, friends. Here I will take a bit of shift. Risk-taking mindset. This is something, I consider as a cornerstone, as a very essential ingredient, and also a key for creating sustaining business empire. And to really play back this particular concept, I will show two photographs. I hope, in most of the sessions that I've taken in the universities, the moment, I put this photograph, there is a loud noise. Jack Ma, Sanders. So this is the photograph of Mr. Jack Ma, but let's see what I want to convey. Apart from being founders of multi-billion-dollar businesses, both of them faced crunching failures at different stages and umpteen times. Now, this is my message to my to my dear students. Do not get bogged down by failure. Failure is a part of life. Failure is a way of new learning. Actually, the people who say that, who have not failed, have not grown, have not learned, have not risen. If you have to rise in life, then you have to really take failure. And failure and people, who really fail, they get up, they learn, they succeed, are the one who ultimately make multi-billion-dollar enterprises in terms of the two photographs that I've shown to you. The first one, Mr. Jack Ma. I failed a key primary school test 2 times. I failed the middle school test 3 times. I failed the college entrance exam 2 times. Going forward, rejected 10 times by Harvard. और हमारा एक बार अगर हम सी एग्जाम या CMA एग्जाम में रिजल्ट अगर हमारा अच्छा नहीं आता, so we go back and start cursing ourselves. Oh, we are not good for anything. Look at this gentleman. He was rejected 10 times by Harvard. After graduating, applied to 30 different jobs and was subsequently rejected by all of them. And I've seen many times that when people go for interview, The moment they are not selected, they get into depression. They think it to be the end of life. They think it that they are good for nothing. Absolutely not. Just take the lesson out of the failure that you have got. And this is what he did. After graduating, he applied to 30 different jobs and he was rejected by all of them. Only because he was rejected by all of them, he thought of setting up his own empire. The second example below, age is never ever a barrier. If in my audience, if I've got people, who are above 40, who are above 50, and they think that, they cannot set up a new enterprise, they cannot set up a new area, they cannot have a new learning, then that means they have taken the life for granted. Sanders did not. At the age of 65, after retirement, he traveled door to door to houses and restaurants all over his local area to sell his recipe. What was his recipe? Fried chicken. He was turned down 1009 times before his chicken was accepted once. And ultimately, he became famous. He rose to become the famous KFC of today. A small disclaimer, Shripal here, not for the jails. So what is the lesson out of that? Experiment. Fail. So once you do experiment, not every experiment can be successful. So what happens in the process is you fail. But take the learning out of those failure. Once you take the learning out of this failure, definitely you succeed. Repeat that particular thing. So what do you repeat again? You repeat the experiment. Because what happens generally, the moment you learn, you become competent. But competency also brings in complacency. So the moment you become competent, you also become complacent. And because you become complacent, your growth stops. At this particular point of time, what I really say is start the chain again, start experimenting again, start failing again, start learning again. And this particular process should grow eternally till you reach the highest level. Fail fast and improve continuously. If you have never failed, you have never been tested, and then you haven't seen your best yet, a setback is only an opportunity for you to come back stronger, is my lesson for today. This has been my lesson for life, and I really want all of you to look at this slide carefully, and if you can take some learning out of that, I think it would be very good. Moving on. The Geo way. So what is the Geo way? First about Kodak. And why did I use the terminology Kodak? Ironically, digital camera that led to the demise of the company was invented by Kodak only. Maybe many of you may not have heard of that, but this is a fact that the digital camera that led to the demise of the company was actually invented by Kodak only. It held back from developing digital cameras for the mass market for fear of killing its all-important film business, fear of smashing the company's golden egg. So it did not actually venture into the digital camera business, and the rest is history. They got Kodak, and that is why the terminology getting Kodak has become almost like a idiom. We developed the world's first consumer digital camera, but could not get approval to launch or sell it because of fear of the effects on the film market. Very important lesson for us, because normally, we actually become very comfortable in what we are. The moment we become very comfortable in what we are, I think the growth stops. And really speaking, if you have to grow, you have to challenge yourself. You have to take, whatever you have already done and you have become successful, you have to take out of that particular comfort zone and you have to move to the next level. See on the left hand side, this is what the left was, something which made Reliance big, oil. But Mukesh Bhai, the chairman of Reliance Industries, in one of his speeches actually told us what I gave you in the first slide. What got us here will not get us there. So he was very clear, and he's such a great visionary that he saw that coming, that if Reliance is to grow, if Reliance has to become the top 10 companies of the world, then only oil will not do. So literally, what he did is he flipped oil. Now if you see the right hand side, this is the mirror image of flipping oil, and what you get is Jio. And this is how Jio was born, and rest is history. And now it is a saying, something which is has become almost kind of an eternal thing, that data is the new oil. What he really thought, the telecom operator were already there. He did not build a telecom company again. He built a company which was a digital services company. Having data at the core, Jio's focus has been to create a diversified digital ecosystem, keeping connectivity services as a part of the larger suite of platform and digital services. Connectivity is important. Without connectivity, these digital services cannot function. So connectivity becomes the foundation, but on that foundation, you have to build your platform and the digital services company, and the result is something which I think all of you has already seen in the last couple of weeks. Moving on, one of the applications that I really wanted to share with you in the current times, Arogya Setu. It's a government-owned application. This is being posed as a primary contact tracing tool in India. It acts as a one-stop solution. What does it do? Spreading awareness about COVID-19, store and display e-passes. It helps in self-diagnosing users. It traces contacts. So just see the magnitude based on which this particular application has been created. And who has created this? Government of India. Applications. Organizations to include the application in the daily operation. PSUs, private sector, manufacturing, and the construction industries to make it mandatory for entry into premises. This is what it has done. CISF is planning to include this application in their SOP. Issuance of e-pass is being explored as a passport to allow mobility and let people access public infra like metro and banks. The praise coming from none other than Bill Gates himself. And what he says, I'm glad your government is fully utilizing its exceptional digital capabilities in its COVID-19 response and has launched the Arogya Setu digital app for coronavirus tracking, contact tracing, and to connect people to the health services. This is what Mr. Bill Gates have said. But not only Bill Gates, even the World Bank. The World Bank also quoted and praised Arogya app in its report. This is what is the impact of digitization. This is what it really says. If you have a problem, if you have an innovative mind, if you can really deconstruct the innovation into a simpler tool, that application is bound to be very successful. In Jio also, There's MyGeo Coronavirus Information and Tools. Geo partnered with Microsoft for a tool that checks symptoms of a user to figure out if the person should be tested for COVID-19. It is made available to consumers and is also being used mandatorily for all employees to control and prepare for response. For those who are in Reliance, for those who are related to Reliance in one way or the other, the relatives of Reliance, the families, the kith and kin, every morning, literally, we have to actually fill up that information related to coronavirus just to kind of give us an assurance, to give chairman an assurance that we are COVID free. This is the commitment that is very important. In fact, I would really like all the companies to have a similar kind of commitment for the employees, that safety first, health first. If people are safe, if people are healthy, profits will come, the organizations will survive, and the economy will upsurge. But first, what is important is you have to keep yourself healthy. Just to give you one example out of that, even in Jains, I'm a Jain. So even in Jain, who actually believe a lot on fasting as a matter of penance to really get rid of their karmas. But there also it is said that you have to keep your body to survive. You have to keep your body up, because only through this body you can actually get salvation. And therefore, whatever is necessary, whatever is the quantum of food that is required to keep the body live, that much of the food necessarily has to be taken. Because if you're healthy, then only you can think. If you can think, then only you can work. And only if you work, then only you can make a change in the economy. So therefore, it is necessary for all the companies in the COVID time to really take care of its employees, to ensure that they are COVID free at all times to come. Moving on. Digitization helping to navigate the testing times. How does it help? Here, what I will do is, now I showed you part one of unprecedented times, the times that are not good. And I have given you an introduction in terms of digitization. The third section is actually how digitization is helping you to navigate in the testing times. Of course, because of the paucity of time, I could not cover, I will not be able to cover all the aspects where the digitization is touching your life. But I really thought, which of those areas which I should consider? So one of the area that is necessary to be considered is, first, the food. And how do I take care of your food? Retail business. With people stuck at home in lockdown, technology has ensured that the smooth functioning of essential services is there. Almost all of the essentials are available at your doorstep using e-commerce, from groceries to medicines to food to really, kind of sometimes non-essential goods also. I heard, some of those funny things that really come as a part of WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever, that people are asking for samosas. Now, samosas really is a non-essential item. I mean, we should restrict ourselves to essential items, but what is important is e-commerce is really taking care from groceries to medicines to food, all of them. And who does it? I've given only a few examples just to play back my point. They may not necessarily mean that, these are the only applications. There may be many, many other applications also who are really doing a good job. But really speaking, at least in the Indian context, or at least in my Mumbai concept, Swiggy is kind of a household name. Zomato is a household name. Big Basket, Amazon, Dunzo, they're kind of a household name. So they are the one who kind of ensure that even while you are at home, you are taken care of as far as your food is concerned. So we spoke about food, and we spoke about something, you know, which is necessary for us to survive, which is the next thing. What are the latest initiatives that have been taken? So one of the app which has been recently launched, the app given by JioMart. JioMart has started accepting orders to WhatsApp in Mumbai region, with the facility being live in approximately 1,200 Kirana stores. And that is something which is very close to my heart, extremely important, because we just have to ensure that in the process that we grow, in the process that we develop, we have to take care of the people who also are important to the survival of the entire economy. We cannot kill the Kirana stores. Kirana stores actually can be a partner in our overall development, and that is what we have done. To integrate Kirana stores and provide convenient portal WhatsApp for online shopping. Here again, drone deliveries. In 2 weeks, Google's Wing drones have made over 1,000 deliveries. Partnership with local shop, with deliveries sometimes done within minutes. I don't know whether it is available in your nearby vicinity or not, but drone deliveries have really started. I also wanted to take one more application, which is Amazon Go. It's a concept of just walkout shopping. What does it do? It uses ceiling cameras and shelf weight sensors combined with the direct billing system that is connected to the shopper's Amazon account. So what it does is you pick up items and your bill or cart is automatically, you know, kind of updated. And if you're already enrolled with the Amazon Go, then you can just walk out of the shop and the bill is automatically deducted from your balance. This is what is the new age shopping that is going to happen in future. Moving on. Abhi humne really, you know, we have kind of thought of having the necessary food to help us survive. But abhi wo to survive kar liya, but to survival ko karne ke liye, you need money. And where does the money come from? The money will come if you're able to work. So what is important is work from home, reshaping the future of work culture. Applications like Zoom, on which I'm on, GeoMeet, etc., have ensured seamless transmission for offline to online work environment. Flexible or home working might even end up being accepted for certain businesses in the long run. It can improve efficiencies, it can reduce workspace requirement, it can save commute hours. Look at the benefit that you are going to get out of this digitization. So you have less of commute hours, so that means you can spend more time with your family. It reduces your workspace requirement. That means there is less of pressure on building up new offices, on really going for concretization. It can actually improve efficiency because, and it's kind of a boon for housewives. It is a boon for the people who want to work from home. It is a boon for really people who actually have got lesser time to really devote to the job and who really want to work in their own manner at their own time. This is something, a boon for all of them. And this is going to change the nature of work or nature of industries and nature of the way we think. And very clearly, you know, TCS is something which has already kind of said that I don't remember the percentage, but I think, you know, almost 75% of the people will be able to work from home. Learning courses have been launched to adapt and excel in work from home environment. Zoom said daily users spiked to 300 million in April, up from 10 million in December. December में 10 million थे. Now it is 300 million in April. For contrast, Instagram took 2 years to reach 100 million users. Some of the other applications, GeoMeet, InLearning with lynda.com content. You also have Microsoft Teams available with you. Moving on. We have spoken about our jobs, that is work from home. We have spoken about the retail that is going to take care of our food and medicine deliveries. Now it is extremely important to take care of our health. So how does digitization help in transforming healthcare delivery? Let's look at that. Telemedicine, remote monitoring, new surgical procedures, mobile health application, real-time diagnosis. All that is happening now in the area of telemedicine. Use of video and wearables for real-time monitoring and diagnosis, suite of applications to track and maintain vitals and overall health. Telemedicine, a trip to doctor is now reduced to a simple process of online diagnosis and prescription, digital payment, and online receipts. In fact, even in today times, because for the last more than 45 days, we are kind of stranded at home. For any medical emergencies, we are able to really reach out to the doctor. He prescribes medicine. We have kind of an e-delivery, and online payment is done and you get e-receipt. The entire operation has become so very simple. You have applications like Switch, Practo, First Opinion, and a whole lot of them. In hospitals, robots and automation is being used to deliver medical services like disinfecting premises, screening, monitoring of vitals for patients, etc. We spoke about health. Now, health is important, but I'm sure 45 days of seclusion, 45 days of staying at home, all that requires two important things again. You require entertainment, you require fitness. Both are equally important. So therefore, I thought of touching these two aspects also as a part of digitization, how it is helping you to navigate in the testing times. What is there for entertainment? Increased consumption of digital content from mobile applications, TV streaming, and gaming. Home concerts in India, Book My Show launched a series called Live from HQ with performances by popular independent music, comedy, and other artists. If you really see now in every home, Netflix, JioCinema, Disney Hotstar, Prime Video, they've become really order of the day. They become very, very important partners in their day-to-day work, almost as important as the family members. Entertainment, digitization in entertainment really, really has gone a very, very big way in keeping people engaged. But one caution from my side, when you keep yourself engaged in all the things that you stream on YouTube, video, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc., one small suggestion, and the suggestion is you should have some kind of a filtration process between yourself. What is that filtration process? The filtration process is when you are able to filter all the negative things. They should not be allowed to go to your mind at all. They should not be allowed to go to your CPU at all. And only the positive thing should be ultimately stored. Generally what happens, people actually take all the negative videos, they forward to everybody, they also keep it in their heart, in their mind, which actually spoils them also. So in my opinion, the sieve that you built in your mind should be so thin micron, so that it should be able to filter only the good things, so that later on you are able to take advantage and in your process of being a better human being. So this is a word of caution for all of us, including me. Fitness, extremely important. Indians love food, and while at home, there would always be, kind of orders to your housewife and also the lot of recipes coming around, and people tend to make, a lot of dishes, and what it does to their health is something which, I'm sure would be visible after a couple of months when they really go out. Now, the fact, in order that this does not happen, digitization is also helping you. Fitness goes digital. Virtual gyms and workout classes have started. One of the examples that are shown is Workout with the Champion, Masterclass with Mary Com. So these are available online subscription services with live recorded step-by-step workout sessions, partnering with celebrities and sportsmen to attract consumers, combining with wearables like Fitbit to provide you real-time feedbacks on the workout. So really speaking, to provide you wholesome entertainment during the days of your seclusion, to keep you fit and healthy, so that you really do not have to go to telemedicine, doctors, or really curtail down on your diet. You have virtual gyms and workout classes also available. Moving on. The next important thing is education, adoption of the tech-led holistic solutions, personalized training, gamification. I personally believe that gamification is a very, very important step in learning and in teaching, because gamification really helps you in making the concept simpler, so you actually learn while you play. Online assessment, active learning, classrooms, ebooks, use of AR, VR, mixed reality, immersive and contextual learning, all that is available to you through digitization. Government institutions are promoting online learning, including MOOCs, which is Massive Open Online Courses, and Swayam Digital and Audiovisual Platform. Creation of engaging content through software such as Camtasia, Raptivity, Articulate, Storyline, and Captivate. There are many, many others available. I've just named a few, but then these are the softwares which are really available to you to keep yourself engaged. If you want to become a storyteller, it is possible. If you want to write a book, it is possible. If you want to write short stories, it is possible. If you want to make small plays ranging from 1 minute to 10 minutes to 30 minutes, that is also possible. And there are a lot of softwares which actually help you to do that. Even I just wanted to give you an example of Simandhar Education. It has actually created Sessions with Leader, which is an initiative to provide students with the first-hand guidance from the industry leaders. Digitization has ensured that knowledge sharing and networking continue at the same levels. You do not require events to do that. You do not require, a huge paraphernalia of booking a particular place, on really taking care of the food and all of that. Actually, networking is possible now in a very, very simple manner. You have seen the Prime Minister really is able to explain his part to the entire nation at large, and all the educationists are able to reach out to everybody to really give you the kind of knowledge that is required in today's testing times. Some of those sessions that are available, you have Google Classroom, you have Swayam, that's a free online education from the Government of India. You have Kaltura education platform integrated with Blackboard. You have Imparters lecture recording studio. And as I always gave a disclaimer, there are many, many others. Of course, I've just given this for the purpose of reference to really play back my point. Moving on. Future of skills needed in the workforce. So what kind of skill? Now, this is something which is extremely important slide. I really want all of you to really spend, 30 seconds on this particular slide. I would actually, read it very, very slowly because I personally believe this is what is going to create a paradigm shift between what was there before and what would be there from now onwards. hours spent. So if you really see what I've given, skills. So what kind of skills are there? Physical and manual, basic cognitive, higher cognitive, social and emotional, technological. And on the left hand side, what I've written is hours spent in 2018 in billions. So on physical and manual, you actually spent 203 billion hours. On basic cognitive, you spent 115 billion hours. On higher cognitive, you spent 140 billion hours. On social and emotional, you spent 119 billion hours. On technological, you have spent only 73 billion hours. What is going to happen in 2030? In 2013, in terms of percentage, physical and manual is going to decline by 14%. Basic cognitive is going to decline by 15%. Higher cognitive is going to increase by 8%. Social and emotional is going to increase by 24%. And technological is going to take the biggest boost. It is going to increase by 55%. And this is total for US and 14 Western European countries. It's a research by CIU IDG. Very, very important slide, which actually tells you a paradigm shift, which is happening in the time that you spend on a daily basis. If you all have grasped this particular slide, let me just move forward. For instance, core technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, such as big data, cloud computing, Internet of Things, which is popularly known as IoT, and blockchain are building a more resilient supply chain management system for the future by enhancing the accuracy of data and encouraging data sharing. Moving on. So what are the further future skills that you would require? You require artificial intelligence, machine learning. You require cloud computing. You require knowledge of critical thinking, and you require knowledge of blockchain. You also require knowledge of digital social media marketing. You require knowledge of big data specialist. You can be IoT architects, and they can also be a specific area like data visualization. I will repeat all of them because, again, very, very important as we really marshal ourselves into the future. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, cloud computing, critical thinking, blockchain, digital social media marketing, big data specialist, IoT architects, data visualization. Jobs, especially manufacturing and operational, expected to be replaced by robots in the future. So what will happen? New jobs to be created in the process. What is needed is to put policies in place to provide sufficient training and social welfare to the labor force to embrace the change. And this is where online teaching, online courses, digitization is going to play a very, very important and vital role in the economy of search. The proactive approach to this swiftly changing scenario would be to acknowledge it instantly and adapt our ways and skill set. Now, just before we move forward and we are actually reaching towards almost the end of presentation, I will actually take a few more examples before I kind of finish off. There's a case for long-term solutions. I've given you two pictures. One, and both the pictures are of India Gate. If you see the left picture, completely ridden with pollution, you're not able to see even the India Gate properly. On the right-hand side, absolutely clear image without any problem whatsoever. Now, what does it mean? There are some benefits also of the environment whatever is happening around. This I call as impact of environment. Opportunity to reverse concretization. Improved levels of AQI, which is air quality index. In Delhi, it has actually reduced from 494 to 124. In Calcutta, it has gone down from 141 to 108. Level of pollutants in European countries has fell as much as by 40% in the lockdown period. This is a strong case for avoiding non-essential transportation and use of public transportation. And just now reflect back to what I told you before of work from home. And that is why I said that the future of India working is going to change. Work from home is going to become a method, a process in the future to come. And it is coming with all kind of additional frill benefits also. And one of the frill benefit that I've shown to you is reduction in pollution, a much cleaner air in the environment. It is also going to have less of concretization, which actually is one of the major reason for all those, ozone layers that you call about, and all the pollution that, all of us face in day-to-day times. So concretization would be reduced. There would be less of office. I have seen that in my office there where, almost 8,000 people are working. Centralized AC is always on for 20 hours. So even if there are few people, you have to really take care of your people. You have to keep the canteens open. You have to really keep all kind of necessary infrastructure open. Now, if that infrastructure is open, there would be obviously, it actually really helps in improving your bottom line also, because then the unnecessary or avoidable overheads would also be reduced. So just see the way COVID-19 has taught us. It has really taught us the future of workplaces. It has taught us the way as to how we are going to work in future. It has really taught us the way we are going to really live in future. And I'm sure the future is really something which is going to have a clear environment, a clear mind, and something, which we have been carrying in our mind always as the kind of negative energies. Those all are going to die in the times to come. And this is a benefit of the COVID that has taught all of us. Clean air in Europe during lockdown leads to 11,000 fewer deaths. Can you imagine this? I mean, this is absolutely unprecedented. If I really started by saying unprecedented time, this is also unprecedented, but this is unprecedented in the positive sense. The advent of negative actually has risen to something very positive. We can leverage this opportunity in crisis to create a better future for our world. And this is where I really come to almost the end of my presentation with the last slide. Thank you very much. And I would really quote our chairman, Mukesh Ambani: all times are good times for those who know how to work and have the tools to do so. And really speaking, to me, समय और परिस्थिति में बदलाव आया, हमें ऊंचा उठाने के लिए, हमारा भला करने के लिए। ये हम ही थे जिन्होंने सोच लिया कि वक्त बुरा है। वक्त बुरा नहीं है। In my opinion, it really is the rise of a new future, the new economy and the new world. In my opinion, all was well, all is well, and all will be well forever. God bless you all, and thank you very much for a patient listening. I hand it over now to Shripal.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rajni sir. It is just amazing the way the presentation have gone by. I know that even Simandar Education have been in your example also. So it's been I think 1 hour, 15 minutes. It's have been a scintillating presentation. Thank you so much. And we'll just take up few questions. I think Akansha, you can go ahead and kind of take up 3, 4 questions so that close this on a high note. And thank you so much, sir. Thanks once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we are moving forward to a Q&A session. So our first question will be, how will Indian Stock Exchange perform after COVID-19?
Come again.
How will Indian Stock Exchange performance will affect after COVID-19?
See, I think let us be very clear. Some of the industries I have already shown in one of my slides that some of the, especially those manufacturing industries have really taken a beating. The productions have gone down. So it will definitely take some time to really pick up. Typically, you know, that upsurge will take a bit of time. I've also articulated by telling very clearly that the India in 2019 was rising at 5.2%. Because of this COVID time, the estimates are at 1.9%. So obviously all this would get reflected in the stock exchange for the time to come. But the good news is some of the industries, especially on the digital sector, on the software sector, on the banking sector, banking in fact really have shown a huge amount of resilience. These industries are going to grow. Some of the new industries are going to come. The confidence of the world on Indian economy is very, very large. And I'm sure all that is going to culminate in higher putting of money by the foreign investors, which actually has a direct impact on the stock exchange. So it will not see a real nosedive. And even if you see in the last 45 days, it has really sustained. The drop has been to the extent of 25%, but the drop has not been very, very steep. So the rise will be slow, but in my opinion, it will be very steady. And maybe, you know, within a year or so, you may see all the stock exchange back to normal. But what is really important is we take a learning from whatever has happened in the COVID times, and we take the right learnings, reduce our cost. Cost is extremely important. We have to reduce our cost. We have to reduce overheads. We have to really make the best use of money. We have to conserve cash, and we have to have a lot of banking reforms in the times to come. And all these will have a very, very positive impact on the Indian economy. So I'm pretty confident, and I'm very hopeful to see the stock exchange surging up again. Not at the level at which it was maybe a couple of months back, which will take a bit of time, but definitely it would be on the rise. Over to you, Akansha.
Okay, thank you, sir. So next question would be, how will automation and digitization affects financial related jobs? What kind of jobs will be affected in this, and how can we equip to avoid such situation?
Very, very important question, especially if there are CA aspirants, some of those finance professionals who are there on the call today. Let me give you two parts to that. What got us here will not get us there. And this is something which I've been articulating always. Because if we keep on to our old ways of learning, the old way of data books, the old way of manual working, manual audit, and most of it, if it is not automated, probably we would be left behind. Because with a real upsurge in artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, most of the things are going to be digitized. In fact, we take a huge pride by saying that, you know, balance sheet cannot be prepared without us, but the way it is going to the balance sheet, the P&L account, the financial statement would be available at the click of button. So you need not be a chartered accountant or a cost accountant to do that. It can be available on the platform itself. So what is really important is we built ourselves, because we basically have a finance brain. We built on this finance brain to develop new attributes of financial analytics, and typically become an enabler to the business rather than as a bookkeeper. Our days of bookkeeper are gone, and our days of really becoming a financial analyst and kind of enabler to the business team will actually differentiate our future to come. The finance professionals definitely have a very, very important future because of the upbringing, because of the numbers, because of data crunching. But if you do not adopt automation, if you do not adopt machine learning, artificial intelligence, blockchain, all of that, in my opinion, we would be left behind. And that is probably, I've been advocating both in CMA as well as the CA courses, that they should actually take these as kind of a compulsory learning. In fact, the entire curriculum need to be reshaped to have, 50% of the total curriculum on these kind of topics and analytics part, and how to help us in really honing up our engineering skills, in our technical skill, so that we are able to help the business. If we are not able to help business, we would become extinct. Over to you, Akansha.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So our next question would be, does the current work from home activity will reduce the dependency on physical offices in post-COVID period?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, this is one of the point that I've articulated in a few of my slides. And in fact, I am of a great believer that work from home strategy is going to reshape our future. Definitely speaking, because I have really seen this in our case. Presently, apart from the people who are really required on the field to take care of our infrastructure part, but typically speaking, our head office staff, almost, I must say more than 95% are operating from home. And this has really shown that our productivity has actually increased by almost 25 to 30% while working from home. I think one of the things which I also have to communicate to all the youngsters in particular, that work from home is a big advantage. But work from home, anything for that matter, anything comes back with is set of precautions. So while you're working from home, I will give you my example. So I'm actually spending from 10 to almost midnight working from home. You have to be extremely disciplined. So what I've done as a part of my discipline. So we actually stay in a 2-bedroom flat in Navi Mumbai, and I have, I mean, that's not very good, but then I have taken over my daughter's room. And I've converted that into an office. At 10 a.m., I get into this particular room, and then I kind of lock myself. And what is also important is you should be properly dressed up. Because until and unless your mind works in a disciplined manner, and the way you behave yourself, the way you train your mind is extremely important. So, and I don't say that, you should be with coat, tie, and all of that, but you should actually be dressed up in a manner that you're presentable to yourself and presentable to others, except Sunday. So that is why you see me like this. But then that disciplines your mind. Your mind has to be disciplined. The mind has to move from home to an office. The virtual office will not become a virtual office if you don't train your mind to really say that it is my virtual office. If you are able to do that, and if you are so disciplined that you will come out for lunch exactly the way when you move from your office to canteen or to your pantry area, if you don't do all of that, I think, this will not result in a good amount of productivity. The productivity will happen only if you're disciplined. But if you're able to do that, the productivity can rise like anything for a very simple reason. In a place like Mumbai, and similarly in a place like Delhi or New York or Chicago, people actually commute for a couple of hours in the morning, couple of hours while coming back from office. Those 4 hours in commuting is clearly saved. So out of those 4 hours, even if you give 2 hours back to the company, your productivity obviously is going to rise. And more than that, you're actually sitting in a very comfortable posture, because when you're going to office, if some accident happen, if you're caught in traffic, that actually spoils your mind, that impacts your mind, which is not there when you're at home. And at home, after your morning, prayers, whatever your prayers are, after you've done your prayers, you've done your meditation, and then you sit in a very relaxed manner, I think, especially for the software people, it is going to work magic. Why magic? Because their work is brain work. And typically, cracking a code becomes very easy if your mind is clean and your mind is healthy. I'm for work from home culture, and because it is going to see a lot of lesser expenditure, so less burden on the economy to create spaces for you, and it is helping the individual to become more productive. Over to you, Akansha.
Okay, thank you, sir. So shall I move to next question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, as we move more into a digitized world, should we be concerned about the privacy of the digitization?
Very important question. See, I will look at this particular point in two manners. Number one, the moment you move into digitization, the data is thrown all around. People actually have access to your data. When they have access to your data, what is important is the access given or the access taken. If the access is given, there is no problem, because then you are actually providing your data with will for your betterment and for anybody else's betterment. For example, something like telemedicine and your previous behavior, your previous illness, so on and so forth. But taking of data without permission is something wrong. And this is something which would get corrected in the future legal scenarios that are going to come, whether it is GADC. So all those stringent rules are going to come. So if anybody is taking data without your permission, would be completely considered as illegal activity. As long as they take data with your permission, there is nothing wrong in it. In fact, we are also creating some kind of a concept of a digital locker. So what is digital locker is all your data. So you are actually provided a locker, and all your data is stored in that locker. So if somebody for their application or for their work or for anything else, if they have to take some of your data from your own digital locker, they have to take permission from you. And only with your permission, the data can be given. In future times, who knows, actually the data that you're storing in your digital locker will also act as your bank, because you may also start charging something for sharing with your data. And then this data also become a source of revenue for you. Times are going to change. Times and the way the digitization is really growing. It is going to create a lot of opportunities for people also to kind of earn money. I can give you one of the example that we have of Jio POSLite. So what was Jio POSLite? What we typically saw is many people, and especially people who are migrant laborers or they were very used to getting recharges done from the digital stores. Now, as the digital stores close because of being red zone, they are not able to do recharges because they are not very used to online recharges. So we created a mechanism called GeoPostLite, where anybody sitting at home can actually become an agent and can help these people do online recharges, and in the process also earn some money. So in fact, all this is creating a lot of opportunities for people who are below the economic level to actually start, earning revenue out of this entire digital exercise. So the world is going to change. Over to you, Akansha.
Okay, thank you, sir. So next question will be, how will the foreign professions such as CPA, ACA will open doors to new opportunities in prevailing conditions post COVID-19?
Akansha, can you please repeat your question? Akansha, can you please repeat your question?
I think I'll take that up, Rajnish sir.
Yeah.
So since most of the professionals are telling that because a lot of foreign investment will come to India now, considering China is now not being taken favorably by other countries. So what is your view on the international qualifications apart from chartered accountancy? What are the international qualifications like US GAAP, IFRS? We have seen a lot of acquisitions coming up. So how do you see the future of these international certifications as well?
So I think very clearly, Shripal, upgradation of knowledge is going to become very important. And many of these international accreditations will also be required to hone up your skills. But that word, kind of a foreign accreditations is something which obviously, I always take it with a pinch of salt. For me, what is important is a good learning. Why do we always believe that the learning is always available outside? The learning is available inside also. I think our IIMs are faring extremely well the world over. Our IITs are doing, extremely well in the world over. So knowledge is knowledge, and now the entire world has become a single marketplace. So through the online learning, you have access to Indian courses, you have access to foreign courses, you have access to foreign learnings also. So I think acquiring of learning is extremely important, and that process has to be on a daily basis. The more you acquire those learning, the more you acquire those specialized skill, that is really going to help you in really shaping up your future. And obviously, as a foreign investment comes, these knowledge is going to become extremely important. In fact, just to kind of motivate my Indian folks, let me tell you that all the top notch people in the world today are Indians. The Google CEO is a Indian. And so I think with all of them being, with Satya being Indian and Sundar Pichai being Indian, I think the world is there for the future for all of you. I mean, upgrade yourself in your skill, believe that particular thing, and I think you would always be there for the future industries.
Sir, one question have come, like since there are a lot of CMAs also in this session, so they are having a view. What is your view on internal audit? So will it affect the audit field after the complete digitalization? So what is
Yeah, yeah.
it doing now?
So very, very important question. I think, Shipal, thanks for raising whosoever has raised. The internal audit is also going to change. In fact, I've been facing this in my organization itself. But as I always tell you, the adversities give opportunity. We have really created this into a complete online audits. Even for something which was traditionally being done in a physical manner. Say, for example, all these days, warehouse audit always has been through surprise verification. So until and unless you're physically present, you cannot audit. But what we have really done is, with the kind of automation that is done in the future warehouses, where CCTV cameras are involved, where RFID cards are there, the entire verification process also has become completely online. And because all the photographs are available, movements are available, the data is available, so it becomes very easy for us to kind of audit. So internal audit is going to remain. Even during COVID times, we have not stopped our internal audit, but most of the things are happening online. You must have seen even the statutory auditors are doing actually audit on an online basis, and they have been used to lots and lots of data. But thanks to the digitization and thanks to the high-speed internet connections that are available now, the upload and downloads are easily possible. And therefore, these things are happening seamlessly. I have seen it myself. I've been able to close all my accounts in time, and also was able to conduct our board meeting, audit committee meeting, and closure of account, announcing of results. Everything was done on time. What is important, Shripal, I think through your kind of educational institute, we will have to convince our managements, that is both CMA as well as CA, that their curriculum has to change. If they do not put the automation part as a part of their curriculum, then we will be left behind. Because if our team, I mean our CA folks, CPA folks, and CMA folks, if they are not skilled enough to take up those automated audit, believe me, the other teams are ready to take it forward. Because I think the differentiation between being an engineer and being a finance expert will slowly kind of lose when this online learning becomes important, like AI, machine learning, and blockchain, and all of that.
Akansha, you would like to take over? I think we have lost Akansha, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Yeah. So I would go with the one last question.
Yeah.
As the market was down because of the pandemic, but we have seen the rise in last 4-5 days. What are the things that lead to this rise?
So obviously, this is one question more for the medical experts, less for me. But I
But
think,
just is related to market.
No,
Market
avoid
down.
that.
yeah, okay. So as far as the market is concerned, see, market will depend on many factors. Obviously, some of the good results that we have seen, and obviously some of the organizations have come back with very good results in spite of being in COVID time. That has really created some kind of confidence both in the foreign investors as well as Indian investors, that we are actually on a safe wicket. And this is the rise of that upsurge. But I would again say this with a pinch of salt, because stock market doesn't always behave on this kind of data. There are various other factors that are attributed to the rise in the market: global economy, oil prices, the news about China, the news that many of the industries are being withdrawn, many of the imports are being withdrawn. So all those kind of play in the sentiments of the stockbrokers, and this actually induces them either to put money in the market or withdraw money from the market. But as I told you, that if we really move on the way as we are, I think the future is going to be great.
I think one question, sir, I think Saurabh have asked that. It's to be an interesting question. So 2020 GDP of India is still in positive as compared to major economies like US, Germany, etc. that have gone negative.
Yeah.
How do you see India from a global economic leader in future? Second, hygiene has always been a concern in India, especially among the lower income group. What would it take to inculcate hygiene among the larger population?
So I think, whether you can say it was out of prediction or it was a foresight and vision of our Prime Minister, what has really saved us in this COVID time is our Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. If you really see, Shripal, and I want to give message to all of you, our Swachh Bharat Abhiyan which has really inculcated hygiene between all of us, especially, among the people from the poorer classes, and which are even, quite too many, almost 250 million populations are at the poverty line or below the poverty line. So creating a hygiene sense among all of them was a very, very daunting task. And I think the last 5 or 6 years that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has gone has really changed the way that we think in terms of hygiene, which has actually helped us in COVID times. Secondly, fortune favors the brave. I think India got the COVID at a very later time. We had a lot of learnings from the developed economies, from countries like China, US, Germany, Italy, Europe, all of them. So we were able to prepare ourselves better. But at the same time, I think some of the decision that we took in terms of keeping self-quarantine at home has really played us well in terms of containing this particular disease. And containing this disease means that you have to spend less on the economy downgrade, less on the money that the other developed countries have to pump in on the health sector. All this you actually treat as part of your savings. And the fact that we have come out stronger has given a very, very strong message to the world economy at large. And that clearly means that, the Indian economy would now be kind of trusted more than, it was always before. The people have demonstrated very good spirits. I've already spoken about the Indian leaders shining bright in the foreign countries and most of the big industries that we have as of now. All these is a very, very positive sign. The last positive sign that we have, which I think the Prime Minister always says, that we have a young India. We have our major population now is below 25, 30 years. And these are the people who are actually going to shape our economy in future. So if all of us are able to train them well, if you spend a lot of money on education, and if you are able to bring them the online courses, the digital education, I'm sure the future is great.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh sir. It's almost now the lunch time, and we have almost surpassed your time as well, because you said you would be for an hour, and I'm so happy. Actually, you have been like almost it's 1.5 hours. I know what 1.5 hour cost of a Reliance Jio CFO, and we are so very happy that you have taken out time, sir. Thank you so much. And Akansha, if you would like to close around. I hope any further questions we can take it up and put an email to sir, because it's almost 1.5 hours now for sir. And he would rather beat me up now if more further questions are taken up. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. It is an honor to be a part of this webinar. You have encouraged us to look at the things from a positive perspective. We thank you for your valuable time, and also thank you for sharing your word of wisdom with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, and God bless you all. All is well. Thank you.